Hi Guy, today I thought we'd have a bit of a discussion about what was your first computer. Now, it's an ideal thing to get into because we've had 30 odd years now with PCs and gaming systems and all the rest of it, but I want to focus on computers. I mean, I have a bit of a tale to go into, but, going all the way back into the early 80s, things like the Spectre and the Amstrad and the Commodore lot and all the rest of it. So it's a good bit of history to go back over there, and I'm sure everyone's experienced it at different points. And, I'm thinking a few flinging in my mind now, like the Acorns, Electrons, the Dragon 32, stuff like that. Anyway, mine was the Commodore 16. Now, it must have been, I must have been about 4 years old when this is how long ago it was. And, so my parents, I later found out, but they were basically they were down the pub and they were talking to this bloke, and he says he bought a PC, the kids weren't really interested with it, we just sat around, would they want it for like 50 quid? And it was a lot of money back then, and my dad was umming and ahhing about it for ages, and then eventually decided to fork out the cash and brought this Commodore 16 on with probably about 5 games. There was the Lorfarius painting thing of, I think Cops and Robbers was one of the games, and a fair few, and like a clone of Pac-Man. I can't remember what it actually was called. And then Mr. Universe was what it was called, which was a Manic Miner style, really early Manic Miner style sort of game. But at the time, of 4 years old, it absolutely fascinated me. I was really drawn into games and things. I was absolutely obsessed with it for God knows how long, because I didn't really get because that was more of a family computer. Everybody used it. I was quite young, so I didn't get to play it as much as I would have liked, but it was always me mother spending hour upon hour every evening trying to complete the Pac-Man game. And I dabbled in BASIC a bit, but sadly I was too young at the time, so I didn't really catch on to Progress. If I'd been a teenager, I'd probably got into it big style and been making these big £1 million games. But if only I'd been born a few years earlier. But as a system, it was absolutely fantastic. It was pretty basic compared to all the others. It wasn't on the same, it was a 16K Commodore machine, but the fact is it was full colour. It didn't have like the colour clash of the Specky and all the rest of it, and it still had a fairly decent library of games. You could walk into like bookshops, supermarkets, market stalls even, just selling all these tape cartridges. It was very, very easy and very, very cheap to pick up a massive library of games. And for a while, I was picking up the odd title here and there, and it was my first entry into the whole gaming side. Now, eventually that span off, and I went down the sad route of not having a PC or a game system till about 87. From about 85 onwards, it was quite a depressing time. But especially when you're a youth as well, and time just drags out endlessly. And all my friends would be talking about what they'd be doing and what computers they had, and they had the old. I think they had the BBC Micro in school at this time, and I was playing things like Magic Mushrooms on the machine, and it was very depressing knowing that I didn't have access to anything like that. And after 2 years of begging, not complaining to my parents, they eventually bought me a Specky Plus 2. And I might be going off a bit with the years there, but anyway, that Commodore 16 was my first introduction to computers and the very first experience I ever had with one, and with systems to that degree. So I've got very fond memories of it. I have tried going back a few times, but I don't know what it is. It's like the Atari 2600. The idea is nice. It's got the games, but they're a bit too basic. And I mean, I even, I've gone back to the Spectrum. I've done it again recently, and I picked up a system, and I loved it to bits. But I think the games were just at a better level by that point than what the Commodore 16 was doing, and the market wasn't as big as it could have been with the Specky and stuff. So it got left behind. But yeah, very, very fun system. God, them were the days. Yeah, I think it had a cartridge slot in the back. Sadly, in the end, it had this huge, massive Commodore power brick, which these things were always fire risks from going off stories and things. And it was really short, and you couldn't have it too far from the computer. And where every single time, whenever we had the PC, the small telly had to be sat. It was a 14-inch TV, I think, sat on this desk with the computer next to it and the power brick right by the side, but number of times it'd get knocked off or bushed off, and there was no real way to fix it in place or anything. And eventually it just fell off and it just broke and it wouldn't work again. And but there's no internet or anything. It's like, how the hell do you get a replacement part for that? And it wasn't for me. Lack of trying from me for me old man. He did try several shops, but he had no joy with it. And then by then it was getting on a fair bit, so it wasn't a case if you could just go buy another one. So it got dropped in a cupboard where I was there for a good 10 years before I ended up binning it in my teens. But anyway, what a sad story that was. But anyway, yeah, over to you guys. I mean, what was your first introduction to computers? You must have all started somewhere. In particular, what was the first game on it you ever played? Did you actually try programming or dabbling in any way, shape or form? Anyway, guys, as always, thanks for watching, and please look forward to another video soon.